Namaskar. Every Sunday morning I'm there. Welcome to Sattology show. This is live and unedited live, absolutely live. आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ. Today I've brought a very interesting topic on Sumerian civilization and and what are the Hindu connections. So Sumeru is a mountain which is mentioned in most of the Vedic writings. Uh, सुमेरु पहाड़ के बारे में आपने बहुत जगह वेदों में पढ़ा होगा. सुमेरु is a mountain in mentioned in Vedas everywhere. And Sumeru is a place where which there is a Manasottar mountain, which is Manasottar, where the sun revolves according to Vedas in Puranas. If you see Mahabharat, Ramayana, everywhere the same information is there. Common. And Sumeru is a place where it's a huge mountain, and Manasottar also it is said sometimes. Same place is said. Some people differ that these are two different mountains, but it's a place where the devatas and other planetary systems they revolve around it. It's like a imaginary pole, you can say. That means everything is synchronous. Now, the information in Vedas may contradict a lot of information in the modern science, but the modern science or modern researchers who are not connected with Vedas ultimately reach the same conclusion. I don't know how it happens and how it is so accurate, as if somebody has seen those things. Now, creation is an important topic in Vedas because creation builds faith, and also creation is a topic of science. So the Vedas are a science, observable science, and also Vedas is in sometimes is called an axiomatic truth, because you may you may go here and there, but ultimately everyone comes to the conclusion of the Ved. It's absolutely right. Now I will give you some astonishing facts about the planetary configurations in some other show, not in today's show. And I'll also talk to you about the sun's movement and the movement through the different Rashi. Rashi, zodiac. We call it in English zodiac. In Sanskrit, it's called Rashi or Nakshatra. Nakshatra is also referred to sometimes as planet. Like in Bhagavad Gita, it says, Nakshatranam aham shashi. So the modern theories differs because modern theories they call it dwarfs, they call it multiple suns, and all these things. And the Earth's movement also is described in the modern theories in many different ways. By the way, this is a completely live show. I'm not working on a script, I'm working on a topic. And based on my own study and research, I'm presenting it. So do join our channel, become a member, subscribe, like, share, and join the team. And if you want to support, then you should support, become a member on Patreon or YouTube. Now, coming back to the topic of Sumerian civilization. Now, before we start off, and I show you the actual maps and the locations of all those maps, I will give you one basic homework that when you are studying or researching on Vedic topics, the first thing that you should do is keep an open mind, because sometimes what happens is because of the academic scholarly consensus, most of the people think of Vedas or something as backward, like this is what is taught, this is not science, this is not science, this is what being told. But keep an open mind. I'm going to show you proofs of the ancient history being misrepresented by the Greeks and by the Romans and then by their successors, which is from Christianism faith, completely misrepresented. And also, some nowadays we have a lot of open thinkers coming on forward, but they are also rejected by the scholarly consensus gang. Like, they don't let any alternative view to enter the campuses. So campuses, that's why most of the intelligent people, they drop out of campuses nowadays. I'm not recommending any of you to drop out, but I'm just saying many of them drop out because there is no free speech left in the campus. So our kind of shows where we present some things which are alternative view, or the view from Mahabharat, which is far more accurate. Now, before I begin there, I want you to take you back to the areas, to the back to the Mahabharat period. And I always do that with maps, because just to show you how real the information is, how real. And I'll give you multiple references on those topics. So in my new book, which I'm working, I'm doing all this research as well. So it comes in very handy. So when you talk about Sumeru, Sumeru means Indra, means Indra's world, or beautiful Meru, which is ideal for yoga, meditation, and other spiritual activities. And it is very clear if you read the Mahabharata text, Ramayana text, and Vedas text. The information is for your ultimate spiritual upliftment or spiritual progress, and not a single culture. And I'm talking about around if you 1800 common era, 1900 common era, that common era was filled with many spiritual pursuits, including 1800, I'm saying before common era, just to be very accurate with you, before common era, 1900 before common era, or 3000 before common era. So we are talking about a period of around 1200 years. And those, if you look at those reigns, or those times, if you calculate with Mahabharat, then you'll see the culture is still intact, and most of the history is written based on the pottery artifacts and the conversations with the local people. So Sumeru is a common name because it represents Indra and Devi Devata, and it's a mountain which is very commonly known. Like, if you look at that time of civilization, then Mandarachal and Meru are very commonly known mountains on earth, because they are supposed to be the center of the earth. Meru is supposed to be the center of the earth. But the Sumerian word is somewhere derived from there, Sumeria. And there are many theories like Lemuria, all these islands are there colliding. That theory is never accepted by, because there is no proof. If the earth is rotating, or if the earth has islands floating, continents are not islands floating. It's a solid surface, goes right to the bottom of the ocean. So they are all connected lands, like the floor of the ocean and the land that you see is all connected. So you cannot have collisions. You can have the whole theory of tectonic plates shifting as if on an island and over some kind of liquid. That theory is questioned. It's nowhere mentioned in Vedas. So we cannot know whether that is truth or not. More experiments need to be done to see whether that theory itself stands today or not. As more information is spreading, as more sources of information are available, things are going to be different. So let us go back to what I do best and give you some idea by looking at the facts on the ground. Just give me a second. Here you go. So today we are going to this area, which is generally called Sumeria. Sumerian, Sumeru, this area. If you see my cursor, you can type over there, then I'll see whether you are able to see that. And so if you see my cursor there, you'll see here this called Sumerian. And if you look at that boundaries, like I can always search for Hastinapur because it's an easy reference to make from there. So if I do that and use the scale, uh, we do here, and we are looking at somewhere in the range of 2000 kilometers, 2800 kilometers, like straight in foot. Obviously, people can't go straight. There are mountain ranges here, and it's difficult to cross. So, generally, people will go from coast, 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 or here, or they will go from the north. And then once you cross here, then you come down. Like these are two ways people will go to this area. And why I say this as center, the reason is like just like in a water, if you have a large body of water on the the flow is always happening from there to the places where there is less water. And also the weather patterns have also changed a lot. In last 15,000 years, a lot of weather has changed. Last 5,000 years, weather has changed. And many parts have become more warmer and livable. So around 2000 years back, or 1800 BC, which is 4000 years back approximately, or 4000 to 6000 years back, if you calculate that area, so we are looking at this area to be like a desert, but also little more green, little more greener than today. And the water levels are still lower than what it is today. So some islands also visible here. And if you wait a minute, some islands also visible here. And if you let me just close this out. And if you go down further, then you will see many of these island chains fully visible in those regions, fully visible. And this is as per the oceanographic studies done by various universities in the US, outside US, in China, and probably in India too. Probably, I don't know because I have not seen any data from the Indian oceanographic studies. Probably China has, but I have not seen Chinese data also. Mostly it's American or to some extent uh, Russia and they have data over there for those kind of studies. So so this is the area which is Sumeru, and we last time we discussed Parthian and other places. Sumeru is we little bit gone back, and also this area was later on called Mesopotamia by the Greeks. Now Sumeru, Sumerian, this is again a Greek nomenclature, and we all know that the Greeks always exaggerated things when they wrote their history accounts. They changed the names, so the original names are not existing, and it's a very human thing that every 200 kilometers of any land you take, slightly things change, like the accents change or the words change, the social acceptance of different social customs also changes, and it has an impact on language. And so languages also change every 200 kilometers. I'm not using the word miles because most of the world doesn't use miles. In US they use miles. So according to US will be around 125 miles, approximately 125 miles. For other places will be 200 kilometers approximately. So that's why you can make it a level playing there. So this is the Sumeru region. And Sumeru region, the artifacts which have been discovered are the same. And so coming back to Mahabharat period, if you look at Mahabharat, this is Sindhu Desh of Mahabharat. Today it is called Pakistan, but it is Sindhu Desh. This is Gandhar. This is Keke. Then this is Parasik Desh. And then you have On the, if you keep going west, then you have Balik Kumari. This is Balik, and this is Turkiya. In fact, very surprising. Turkey has renamed itself to the same name which is in Mahabharat, Turkiye. Turkiye. Turkiye is the ancient name mentioned in Mahabharat. Maybe they're trying to convert their faith, becoming a Hindu country again. I don't know. I was so shocked to see they call Turkiye. And it's very surprising. Like it's going back to the roots. So maybe uh, Turkish people are realizing that they have to get connected back to the source, which is India. And Turkey, I mean, for most people, I can tell you, this is always taxpayer to Indian kings, whether it's a Ikshwaku Vansh, and there are two prominent families who have ruled the entire world: is Ikshwaku and then Soma, which is Hastinapur base. They are, one is Ayodhya, one is so Hastinapur. So most of the other kings, they are connected. Like there are sometimes there are fights, sometimes there are no fights. See, the European record of Indian history is all the Indian kings are always fighting. That's not true. They are justifying their aggression by saying that if they are fighting, we also have the right to fight. That's what they're saying. It's like when most of the European settlers came to USA, but they said no, they were fighting amongst each other, so we came and we killed everybody. It's not a logic. That just shows that barbarism. But anyway, people think of it as a strength, but we do not, because we are thinking from the point of view of dharma. So here we are looking at the overall map, and you can see the land of India, Himalayas. You can see the path, and Ramayana and Mahabharata are very consistent in Soma Ashram, Somnath Temple. Somnath Temple nowadays has shifted here, but Somnath Temple was right here earlier, because these 100 places are known as the region of Shiva. That's why Gandhari was a Shiv Bhakta. It was very common Shiv Bhakta to be Shiv Bhakta here. And Meru Parvat is right here, center of the earth, that is being described. Now, in this map representation, because when you are talking about science, you have to exactly be scientific. In this map representation, it doesn't look like the center of earth. So either the map is wrong or the Mahabharata, Ramayana, or Vedas are wrong. So that we have to check, and that is the duty of the all the dharmic scholars to research. Okay, so but I will just take it as a center point here. So I'm going to put a pin there and start moving there, because these geographical coordinates are very important for you. If I look at this, it is 2000 kilometers approximately, this area, 2000, 3000 here. If you look at Hastinapur, it's 1400 kilometers, so 1444, somewhere in that region, 1444, that year. If you look at from there to extreme south of India, like Kerala, it is 3787 kilometers. Okay, so it's a pretty central. If I look at Meru on east side, is 4000. If I go on the other side, cross 7800. There is something in the maps that we need to study, that why it is called the center of earth, and why not the other way around, why it's called center. But we have to study that, and we have to see what is right and what is wrong. But if you see that representation of the description of Vedas, then you'll see then everything starts making sense. Then everything starts making sense. Right now, if you look at this circular map, then nothing makes sense, because if I start describing to you, I'll stop this one again. If I start describing to you how the Vanara went from, they all came from Kishkinda to north and then started moving this way, all the way to where I went, Papua New Guinea, then looks like huge ocean they're crossing, you know, and so doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. So we have to see, because this. this map itself is like when you study more and more of Ramayana Mahabharata, then you start looking at everything in a different way. My reference point is different. Europeans' reference point is different, and nowadays has become conspicuously absent. You know, is conspicuously present by its absence nowadays. Because if you speak too much openly, you're banned. You cannot join. You cannot get a job. You cannot get anything because you have to follow. It's like the old times have back again when Galileo was punished and other people were punished for bringing up their own theories. So same things out there nowadays also. It's called wokeism, but we won't go there. That's more of a political topic. We want to stay away from that. But it affects us, so we have to somewhere touch it. It does affect us. So when we talk about the Sumerian civilization, we talk about this area, and you'll be shocked to see that that the uh, the artifacts and the items that are discovered there, the method. See, you understand the culture by three ways. You need to know the language, the food, and the method of worship. Okay, method of worship, not who you worship. It doesn't matter. If you want to be an objective analytical study of an ancient culture, you just study these three things. This is I have come to this conclusion after a lot of research. Your academic books won't tell you all these things. These 3 points are brought up by me in my books, uh, and in my new book, which is coming out, which will blow your mind. You must read all of my books because all of books I do a lot of research, and then I come up with some things which because I'm trying to understand the Mahabharat and Ramayana and how they can fit in, what the travels they did, where they went, how the Chakravarti Samrat. Chakravarti means what? Chakra Varti means anything enclosed inside the thing, or they have conquered the world. Means etymologically we are discussing these words, but Sandhi Vichhed, if you can use and you can do that. So I'm trying to tie back. Then when Duryodhan says that Arjun went to the north where the Pakshis are come to the south, then how did he go do that? How did he go there? That is my question. So, and that I'm resolving one by one, like peeling the onions. You peel. By the way, it's like an Ayurvedic medicine. Eat it when you're sick, not all the time. Uh, so it's a uh, this is the region we are talking about, and we will I will take you to each of the artifacts while I'm talking about it, and you will be shocked to see the similarities between the Sindhu Desh culture here. See, after the Mahabharat war, Arjun goes on a Ashwamedh Yagya ceremony because he wants to ensure now after Rajasuya Yagya, you will do multiple Ashwamedh Yagya to ensure that the territories are still intact. Otherwise, the Rajasuya Yagya has to be done again or revised again. So people are scared of it. Even the person who performs is scared because it requires a huge wealth to wage a be ready for a war. It is not easy. And nowadays, a lot of wars are going on. You can understand how much money is being spent. Countries are getting bankrupt. So here, Arjun again goes back north, then comes this way, and then he crosses Pyag Jyotishpur, then Sindhu Desh and Dwarka. Then comes back to small Meru region. Meru means desert, and comes back here. Okay. So Meru Parvat doesn't mean that Parvat of desert. Meru Parvat is mentioned as Meru Mandarachal. These places are mentioned where the Devatas are always present there. So when Krishna goes from Dwarka, he goes in a plane of Indra, and he reaches there, performs his task, and then by plane he comes back. It is mentioned there in Mahabharata. So planes were very common. Like you must have seen my other show on UFOs, and very common, very very common. Viman, very common in Mahabharata period. Very common to see devatas coming down, devis coming down in Mahabharata period. Very real. Some people today say, how is it possible? and the Indra was there in 7,000 years back. Kuber, how is it possible? Kuber is not a human being. Kuber is a devata. He is on the human being to manage the earth, but he's not. So that's why that is one of the doubts people have. So most of these personalities, they come and go. So in Sumeru, very closely connected to Harappan civilization. Harappan, we all know now. Gradually, we are discovering Mahadev was the main deity of Harappan civilization, Bhagwan Shiva. And Somashram is nearby, Somanath is nearby. Somnath is on this side actually. Now it has moved inside the Indian borders, but normally it was on Afghanistan border. Somashram is there. Somnath should be there near Somashram. So Gandhar is right here, which is Shiva, and that influences all over the place. So what did Greeks did not mention? Food, did not mention uh, the language, did not mention the third thing they did not mention is the method of worship. Okay, you can type it over there. I'm reading it. So these three things define the culture. So now let us go back and I will share a different screen so that just to give you information. Yeah, I'll stop my screen. Do join me. I'm will be traveling very soon to many places. You can join me. If you see my map, this is from Wiki map. I don't recommend it, but I'm using it just for the purpose of representation. So this is what the region looks like I was describing you all this region, very mountainous, and the rivers are flowing here, very major rivers. We will come to the source of the rivers also. Most of these names are very much misnamed now, misnomers, or or named by Greeks, so the names are very different. Okay, now their facial features are pretty much like Indian, South Asian, or pretty much like that. And if you remember my last presentation on the Parthian Empire, same images are here, similar. Yagya, in fact, exactly the same image from the British Museum they have taken out because there is no other data. So that means what they were showing for the later civilizations, Parthian and down to Persia, like more later civilization, Mesopotamia, they were using the same images which was from the Sumeru period. No change. So practically, Sumeru was a name given to the worshipable deity, or based on the records that what was the local dialect, what they used to call their gods. Comes back to Indra. Very common reference. That Indra, you will see in some of the images also. You'll see that. Wait a minute. Okay. So Brahmana coming there, all of them wearing Janeyu. Some of the pictures don't show, some of the pictures show. And again, coming back to the structure, temple structure. These are all temples. Generally, all the temples are made like this, canonical style. Today, you call it pyramidal style. And these are, and they come up with all kinds of theories. These are precursors to pyramids and Egyptian pyramids. Very true, also, because most of the temples in India will also be considered in a triangle, square, and pointed. If you create imaginary lines, again, that's why I was saying the square structure. If you put imaginary lines, point to the top, they are all will be temples because that's a Vastu Kala for a temple. Spiritual place is equidistant on all sides and accessing one direction. If there are many questions also come in that if the see the pottery and other things are the game changers for the archaeologists because they're diggers. They dig things and they search out what they want to do. But for us, three things: food, language, and method of worship. These three things. Method of worship is common across the entire region, matching with Hindus. There is a respect to all the animals, there is respect to the nature, respect to fire, respect to five elements, bhumi, rapu, anano, vayu, khamano, buddhi, revacha. All the earth, water, air, fire, and ether. Ether means space, like the where your movement is happening, and the wind is the place. We every culture respecting them, but the most important thing is Sumeru civilization is Indra. Now, the Greek accounts of what happened when, where, the way they have written, these all histories are written guided by the Vatican's conquest of the Africa, of the Middle East, and even India. Like, and Alex Cunningham, I recently heard that Alex Cunningham was just there to make money, and he was just a became a archaeologist by chance to find things for the British Empire. To find is like said, no, is a specialized force to find out what we lost left looting. That is Alex Cunningham, and unfortunately, ASI of India is still considers him as a head. Cannot be removed because that's the right thing to say. But after independence, they should remove all the previous persons and put someone who loves the culture, who understands the culture. So when you start looking from the Sanskrit point of view, then everything starts making sense. Everything, including the names, start making sense, which I'm writing in my new book. All these original names of these places, with a lot of difficulty, I'm searching out and writing. Some of them I won't be able to find out. I'll be very honest with you. Some of them I will write. Now, coming back to the symbolism here, very important symbolism. So, if you look at this, uh, the uh, the priest showing up, and also the bells, which you very see in the common in India also, and there are people who are moving with the when you if you do the puja, if you do, then you take the arga and you spray. Different temples have different ways of spraying after the worship, and you have seen that in all the temples you go, that the pure water which is offered to the deity is shared, and that's what it is happening here, common across all cultures. In fact, there is no separate record of Sumerian civilization. That was the point I wanted to bring in. A lot of information is from the potteries. Like I said, potteries don't define culture, because potteries can be. Do you think that human beings have ever stopped eating in one any particular age? Humans are eating all the time. So just finding out potteries and saying this belongs to this, that's a patronizing behavior. That's not science, because you don't know. So pottery is not the only basis. Sometimes potteries may be right, but potteries, there are so many layers of earth which come in over the. We're talking about just if even if you leave your house closed for 100 years, and if you don't cover your furniture, then it has a dust layer on it, and if you leave it closed, even the closed houses are completely, you seal it, still the dust comes in. So what will happen to these places which are just out in the open? The rains are happening, there are tornadoes are coming, typhoons are coming, hurricanes are coming, and the storms are coming. What will happen to these places? So it's very common to get buried under the earth, and earthquakes can also happen, a lot of things can happen. So, and also different ages can be, it's not always one layer over the other all the time. Sometimes the over layer gets broken, and then the new layer comes in. So a lot of things can happen. So just pottery is not the basis of showing any civilization, because it's just a representation that yes, this was there. Now if you look at the earlobes of this person, what comes to your mind? This they will never say. It comes Buddhism, right? There's a Buddhistic, it's a helmet, very Buddhistic tradition coming from the East. Now, if you look at during that time we are talking about, that time is the time. of Buddha expansion in the East. So that means it happened after Chandragupta Maurya first and Chanakya first. So now the entire timelines of Sumerian civilization goes for a toss. If they are claiming this to be a Sumerian artifact, okay, but it is not, because there is no artifact of Sumerian civilization. So, so what they did was, what is the story is, they found out. So these are the same artifacts will be shown to you for Mesopotamian, for Sumerian, for Parthian, same artifacts everywhere. Nothing changed. Why? Because all those things were made up. Sumeru is a Sanskrit name mentioned in Vedas, Ramayana, Mahabharat as a mountain around which the planets revolve. And Indra is worshipped as a symbol in all those places because Indra is Devraj. Most of the stories are, if you look at Rig Veda, it's all about Devraj and where is Abhishek happened and what not things. So coming to symbolism, which is same as the uh, is Akkadian king, Akkadian. Now this is the Western name. What is the Indian name is Akkadian comes from Astra or Asta and other. So any kings will be find from that names. You will find these because Greeks had a very strong way of pronunciation, and so they usually uh, presented something in their own way which they could hear. Like for example, Sandrocotus. K is used everywhere. There is no, there is Gupta, Chandragupta, Sandrocotus. So again, Akadiya means which will be somewhere in the realm of uh, Gupta or Gupta kings, you can say. So very recent Gupta period, Pandya kings, Gupta period. So again, this is again a very, if you look at the image of the person, looks like a very Buddhistic origin, and it says Gaudiya of Lagash. Again, misplaced information trying to build a story, not real. Because if you look at the period I'm talking about, which is 1800 to 3000 BC, 3000 to 1800 BC, by the way, this will be reversed if you call BCE, Common Era, before Common Era. And if you look at the BCE period, then that period is coincides with the export of Buddha's teachings. Now, Buddha, I'm talking about the original one, not the Gautam Buddha, because original Buddha was considered a Vishnu avatar in Bhagavad Puran. It is written down there. It is a Vishnu avatar, not considered. It's not there. So, if you look at that, all this information, then completely different view comes out. Helmet, but this structure, I've seen all the temples, and you'll see more of my videos coming when I'm traveling. This I showed in the last time also, but one interesting picture I would like to come here. So this is the language. We're talking about the language. Now it is called a pictographic pre-cuneiform writing. Symbolisms are there. What does it show? A lamp. In different places, different shows. Lamp, a coconut, and something on top on the coconut. Then a candles. It shows candles, and it also shows a ship. That means this place was very close to the ocean. Now, if you study the culture of India and during Ramayana and Mahabharata period, the more you go away from Hastinapur, the culture decreases, and information is common because the ancient culture of today's Iraqis, Iranis, or the Pakistanis. So Pakistan was a Hindu country in just few years back, 100 years, not even 100 years now, right? But it's the same culture. Culture is the same. Looks are the same. Some people get confused. Egyptian looks are the same as the Indian looks. It's the same. And somewhere the Europeans, which are more whitish complexion. They that because of colonization, that mixture has happened. That for some people look different, but generally it's all the same. Generally, basic characteristics are the same. Now this is made, so there is no more mention of Sumeria now, but all these symbols are there in their charts. Okay, so India, Elam, pictographs, Egypt. So they're trying to separate Egypt from India, whereas Egypt was always a Hindu territory. We have discussed that in detail. They're trying to separate Syria from the Indian connection. I have no idea why so much hatred against Vedic culture. I have no idea. The more I discover it, the more I find the loopholes everywhere. There is no proof. So all Sumerian history was all just written down for academic purposes. There is no reality. Therefore, when Vyasdev says no connection, no history that has no the history that has no connection with Sanatan Dharma or Hindu word is not there, but Sanatan Dharma or Mahabharat is no real, not real. Says and we can see that the whole thing is made up. It's just so that you can build up some museums, collect some money, and just make it a nice business over there. That's all the British Museum is about. And unfortunately, Indian museums are also like that. Instead of preserving their own culture, they're trying to take guidance from the British. They should, if they have to take guidance from the British, they have to take on how to steal things. They have to take guidance on that. Anyway, we don't recommend stealing. So here you see the bird, Garud, a common feature across all these regions of Garud coming, the big bird coming, flying. Mahabharata has numerous references of Krishna flying to Meru, Krishna flying to Pragjyotishpur, Krishna flying to many places. Mahabharata has a lot of references. Mahabharata has a lot of references of devatas coming down on different planes. Many references. And as you grow before, then Indra's world comes in. And it doesn't mean that Indra's government is ended. It's still going on. They don't have a 5-year plan. They're installed for a whole manvantara. So so they so here we have in the something being offered to this old person. Now this is really old, and this is being now the whole Western concept of a god being old. You have to understand the entire Western society is still trying to validate or understand whether God exists. Okay, they're searching. They're all the Abrahamic faiths are trying to prove whether God exists or not, especially Christianism. Okay, so they're not convinced of God exists or not. It's like if it exists, it's fine. Because the problem is in the vritti, one of the vritti is pramana vritti. You know, in the 5 vrittyas, praman, viparyaya, vikalpa, nidra, smriti. These are the 5 vritti. So in the praman vritti, if you say there is pratyaksha, anuman, agama, means these are 3 vrittis on which you can understand things as they are. So whenever the society becomes fixated on pratyaksha, that society starts going down in mental capacity because they just want to believe what they see from the eyes. You don't see many things with your eyes. You assume things. Like if you're in a submarine and you want to navigate, think about the plight of that captain who is navigating a submarine and believing in what eyes can see. Because submarines can't see anything in the water. So they have to anuman, which is send sonars, assume the forms based on the sound reflection, and then they move. This is the way to work. So just like if you have in your house, obviously you're not living in a large hall with a bathroom and toilet. You make rooms, you make separations in your house. So if somebody is in the kitchen and somebody is some other room, you call for it, and based on the movement or some kind of movement, you understand somebody is there in the other room, or they have locked the door. So it's natural for us to imagine anuman, to uh, to guess what can be there, can be, it's part of scientific reasoning. And we also have to go through the agama, what previous generations have done, what previous people have done, what they have done. It's very common. But when it comes to culture, all the Brahmism peoples, they close their minds. What is seen is what is true. Then it's like blind leading the blind. So here is very commonly shown. This is again a Zoroaster depiction. Zoroaster means Ahura Mazda, which is Zoroastrian depiction of Darius, their king. Darius was one, two, three, four. Many kings by the name Darius has happened. Darush, like we all see in the Vedas, Daru, very names are there. So Diti's Putra, Divi, Deva, Asura, those names are there. So these names are coming from Druvya. There is a Druvya name over there, the Vedas. Those names are coming from there, central name. These are all the kings in the central part of the world. Because understand, Mahabharata is information from every single part of the world. So here it is mentioned being offered lamp to the Devata, not sun god, what they are writing here. It is just a local king over there. But below is the altar, which they are mentioning. This is the main part, is the altar where they are mentioning the things. And if you observe carefully, then it is a Shivling. But anyway, this is the position of Anana, the Devi, and everybody worshipping Devi. All the kings are going to worship the Devi, and there is a fire in the front, and she has appeared from the fire. Okay, very common. Again, this is the same things I showed you in the Parthian. Same I showed you, because there is no available proof over there. We don't have anything. So because it's all made up, Greek history is made up. Now Sumero Akkadian gods, and you will see that everywhere the name. Now this chart is very interesting, which they have made. Enki, Eva, and if you look at the charts here, which is uh, Enki is the earth god of wisdom, magic, and fresh water god of Eridu, which is Indra. Anu is god of, so so all these names have been just topsy turvy, no real, nothing real. So we have to, like if you are watching this, then you will have to discount it. This is important. This is man living in harmony with the nature. This is the culture. That means, and one especially good thing is beautiful cow being. So this picture also refers to lot of these gifts being taken for somebody else. Different types of horses, sheep, cows being taken, decorated cows. This is a decorated cow being taken for somebody else. Now we all know in Mahabharata, all these gifts were given to the kings of Hastinapur and to the local kings, and then given to Hastinapur. That is a connection they have. But it is being given beautifully decorated cows. You can see them, and the horses. And by the way, a lot of horses mentioned is there in Mahabharata. We had got different types of horses are found in different places. So it's a very common knowledge. Now coming to, I'll little bit stop sharing here, because some of you may be questioning that why so much information is not given in other places, in other Indian books. Indian archaeologists have not done a job. Most of the Indian archaeologists, if you hear properly, yes, they might be working. They are working under a very strong pressure to prove themselves validated to the Western historians. They want to They want to literally tie themselves down and say, okay, we are saying the same thing, like the whole thing of the validation game, that if you're not validating yourself with the University of Oxford and Cambridge and maybe some American university, then you are somewhere wrong. So they're working on a slave mindset. So most of the archaeologists in India don't do the job. They've studied in Oxford, they've studied in Cambridge, and they have no connection with the Indian culture. And they will come to and talk, oh, Vaishnavite said that, Shivite said that, and then the Dravida, all this nonsense they'll talk. In Hindu culture, whether you worship Shakti, whether you worship Shiva, whether you worship, method of worship and the object of worship are totally different. You can do whatever you want, but the ultimate thing is that you come to yoga. Yoga means elevating yourself spiritually, connecting with Paramatma, which is the all pervading aspect. So the yoga is the principal way of development of a human capability or consciousness. Consciousness development means connecting your consciousness to Paramatma. Very simple. I've done a yoga translation, and and I will answer all your points here, questions here, then I can talk to it. So I'll take one more last share and then I'll stop it. Okay. Just one more slide. If you can see my picture, just text it, so that I know. And okay, so you see here, this is Indra. Indra's depiction is there very clearly because this is the thunderbolt in his hand. And but they called it, which one they call it? Anzu, pursuing Anzu, and stone Assyrian stone relief temple of Nirua. All these are very recent ones. Tablet of Destinies. Most of these stories you'll find it. And I'm trying to make a collection of all those stories, that these pictures represent what stories. It's difficult to find out the mindset of the person who made those stories, so we cannot say much, but I'll definitely show you one day. Again, Inanna is very common feature. Inanna, Anu, Ishtar, she's a princess, she's a goddess with a lion, Durga Devi, common across Europe, common across Greece, common across everywhere. Greeks did the maximum damage by misrepresenting many things. Romans followed it, and the Vatican topped it completely, destroyed it. And the Western colonial who were working on the authorization of Vatican destroyed every single history. And the funny thing is, we're talking about global South today, and Indian government is not yet acting on it because everyone looks up to Indian government. Just believe me, India is a powerful country. We Everybody in the world looks to Indian government. What they're going to decide now? It's the old time of Mahabharat. Like the everyone looks to Hastinapur to decide what Hastinapur will do next, what Ayodhya will do next. This was the part of the old world. So India will always remain powerful, and anyone who follows Dharma will always be powerful. So nowadays, in US government always thinks what goes on in Indian politicians' mind. But for us, Indic origin people, Indian people, Hindus, and belonging to the original culture of the world, Hindu is the original culture of the world. We have to speak history or study history from our viewpoint. And that's where you join Sattology. I'll stop here. Do become our member, part of, do our courses. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. A lot of information is shared over there. Become part of the YouTube channel. Become part of the Telegram channel. A lot of information we send out there. And believe me, we are every month, every week we have courses, and we are opening our courses to everybody, Hindi speaking, English speaking. We normally charge a fees, but if people cannot afford, they can still join the course, but only thing is they have to attend all the sessions. If they are not part of, if they don't follow that, then, because sometimes people join whenever we remove our fees, they join just to gain, and they attend one show and go away. That wastes our time because we have limited space. So, okay, the questions have come in. I'll go from the top. Thanks for effort, uh, Ravi Sangiviji. Thank you, Raviji. Do become a member and support us financially. We can use that funds because we are because the economy, our things are going down nowadays. And what is it? Which is here. भारतवर्ष जम्बूद्वीप का भौगोलिक क्षेत्र कितना बड़ा था? हर्ष पाटिल is asking. So, uh, Bharatvarsh is considered the whole planet, and Jambudweep is one island. So you can imagine there are seven main islands and 13 minor islands. Shiv Puran we will definitely do. Okay, one day. Uh, is Sumer Akshay Soni Sumer? The next question is who did Alexander fight? So Chandragupta of Gupta dynasty, much later, not the one with the Chanakya. That he didn't fight that. Sorry. Now, who is original Buddha? When did he exist? Original Buddha is the first incarnation of Vishnu, and it is almost 1800 before Common Era, 1800 years before Common Era. Sumeru people were Hindus. अभी राम रामायण की कथा होगी अब राम और सीता के बारे में पूछ रहे हैं Anumaki gods are the ones who are following Indra. Breaking down is asking where did all the ancient technology go? People would laugh when they mentioned Vimana. They ask for foolish people laugh. Nowadays, NASA is studying Vimana of India. So only foolish people laugh. Well, NASA is a large image editing company, according to me. But Indian scientists are there. So all the technology is still there, but we have lost the yoga sadhana. All these technologies can be developed very easily, and India can do an even better job than what it is available if they follow their own books. Um, Abhishek Gupta, planes were common to or to common people also, like anything about ship. See, understand one thing. Today, plane travel is commercial. There is a need to go to far off places for working and for employment purposes. In those times, employments were arranged locally, so people and families used to stay together. So the mode of transportation, the way it has evolved, it's also dependent on the changing lifestyles. Okay, so there was no need for that planes for everybody. For kings or for the people who are managing the world, it was essential. Even today, so many planes from devtas come to check on Earth all the time, and we can't even shoot them down. You know? We can't even fly at their speed. So just understand that part. Hated to the policy of Surah. True, very true. And the question is, please make video Samrat Vikramaditya defeated Julius Caesar. Okay, all right. Not in this show, Chikubittu. All right. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining. Do get my book. Search Sattology on Amazon, Sattology, and do that. Become a member. Join our booklet fest in August. We are working on it. We have made all the arrangements. Now we'll start taking the bookings now. So thank you all for joining. Namaste, Jai Jagannath, Jai Shri Ram, and Mahabharat is wonderful as usual.